You know, there's a lot of cars that don't look good as station wagons, but I think this one does. And just look at the body, no rust on it. It feels like a contemporary sort of car. If you can find a station wagon like this, in great shape like this one, just the body alone is worth quite a bit, because there's a lot of hipsters around here and they admire these station wagons quite a bit. And why wouldn't you? They're so much more handier than a regular car, a regular sedan. The regular sedan version of this, it's a cool car, but not as rare as this. No rust at all on this thing. That's what you pay for, that little station wagon in the back. Just by having a station wagon, it used to be station wagons weren't as hip, and nowadays people are starting to realize, yeah, with all of these SUVs on the road, maybe I just need a station wagon. And I like how station wagons are a little understated. You don't have to scream, I have a lot of money and I need a big car. Something like this will do the trick, and there's a lot of dignity to that. And there's hardly any dignity to driving in an SUV these days. Everybody's got them. Everyone wants to be sitting up high. But do you really need to? These things handle so much better and will last such a long time. So what's the purpose? What is the purpose of buying an SUV when you can get a station wagon and at the same time be all hip? You can be a hipster with this thing. This is a station wagon that makes hipsters blush. Your power windows and locks, and it's very sparse, but the great thing, the cloth I really like about Hondas, this thing does not wear out. And every single Honda that had cloth interior, they just do not wear. And if you have any leather sort of stuff, they usually wear out. But this is pretty typical of Honda, just very durable cloth. It might not be the greatest looking, but I think over time it does look extremely good. So as you can see, the interior is in extremely good shape, and this is pretty typical of all Hondas. And Honda is just a really good maker. So when you look at this car, you have adjustment here. I think this is for the lumbar. Yeah, look at that. It even has lumbar support. That's a great little thing. You have a box here, and this one's pretty comfortable. It's a pretty hard place to put your arm, but it is comfortable and it seems like it's pretty durable. You do have quite a bit of stuff here. You have your compartment here, and it's pretty deep. It's good enough to put some stuff in there. And then you have your cup holders. That's very important for car drivers because they're always drinking coffee. But it's nice that you can shut it, and it's such a nice little lever. Look at that. These are things that Honda does well. It's the fit and finish. And I like this entire console here. It's well laid out, it's simple, it's exactly what you'd expect. You don't have to look for things. Once you have driven a Japanese car, you've driven all of them. Then you have your automatic shift lever here. This one does not have an overdrive. Maybe they removed it for the 94s. You have your cigarette lighter, but this has never been used. And then you have your little ashtray here. Here you have a space that you could probably use your cell phone in, but I'm pretty sure it's used for something else. You could replace the stock radio with a aftermarket unit, and you have a lot more space here. This might look nice with a GPS Android unit, but this is the stock one with a cassette. Up here you have your hazards, you have your timer, which is nice. Look at that. They even have a little door for the adjustment, because they realize that you don't need to adjust the hour anytime. It's very, as long as you have a good battery, it's never going to be resetting. You have space for another button here. And then up top you have your AC, which is surprisingly small. This is just this. The one thing I'm going to say about these buttons, they are a very weak part of this car. The Accords that I've had, these knobs, because of the use, especially this one, will fall off. It'll break internally, and then you have to get the entire thing, and it's fairly expensive for such a small little dial. I wish they didn't do this, but Hondas typically do this. Over here you have your rear or your defroster. It still has the Honda head unit. It has space underneath to put a much larger unit, but I think it looks very retro to have a cassette deck. And I think a lot of the hipsters getting this car might stay with the cassette deck. I think it's kind of cool to have, kind of like what fanny packs are. They're all coming back. Now, it would be great to have a 5-speed transmission in this car. It would make it a much more interesting car and much more durable. But this one has got the automatic. But, you know, it's not as great as the Honda. It's not as great transmission as the Toyota, but it's still a fairly good system. That you have two airbags. You have one here and one there, and you also have cruise control, resume and set, and then you have these little thumb buttons for your horn. And then over here, this is typical of Honda. It's, you know, the windshield wipers. You have your key ignition. I always admire the interiors of Honda, and I'm sitting comfortably in the rear here, and I have plenty of knee room. I don't have to have a lot of restrictions here. It's a pretty comfortable rear seat. I think if you had kids or you had a family with teenagers, this makes a pretty decent car. A lot of times I wonder why people want to get SUVs when you have a family. It's not really required. It's, you know, I have friends of mine who have like 3 kids and they need to get like a Ford Expedition or a Tahoe or something like that, and it just seems a little bit extravagant to do that when a station wagon like this, I believe, is a little bit more dignified than an SUV for a family vehicle. A lot of the new Honda Accords out in the market, the quality on new vehicles has decreased over time because they want to save costs, but the cost of the car has gone up. This thing, the quality of it is going to remain pretty high. Also, you have a very nice armrest here, very high quality. Now, this is the business end of the station wagon. It's a pretty neat little thing. Look at that. You even have a handle here. So if you're ever inside and you want to close it, that's how you would close this door. And down here you have your spare tire and tools, and it looks like it's never been used. And you also have space on the side here. I think that's where you would put the tools, but I think they just lumped them, the previous owners just lumped them all into the spare tire area. And also you have more room over here, so you can use it to store valuables. And one thing I really like about this back, you have these little hooks on four little hooks here that you can use to secure your cargo. That's a pretty convenient thing to have. You also have more room over here. I'm not sure what would be over here, but this is nice and convenient to have. On this side, there's no such thing for hiding your cargo. So when you close this, and if you have valuables in there, you're not going to be able to tell what you have in there. So it's going to be a little bit safer. And another really great thing is this roof rack. This roof rack will be handy if you need to carry a ladder, and it's very aerodynamic. It's not very tall. It's the height adjustment, but it's a power height adjustment. So if you have knee problems, having the seat go up and down so you don't have to crouch as you're getting in is comfortable. You also have the reclining, and then on this side you have the lumbar support. Every single seat I've sat in a Honda Accord has been extremely comfortable. The seat here on this one is typical of Honda. It's very high quality. It holds you in pretty well. You do not slide around, and the cloth is really what you want in an old Honda because they hold up so well over time. And here you have your sunroof, and that's the roof, and that's the cruise control on and off. And here is your dash lights. This is a little bit different than the other types, like the previous and the older versions, have a different type of dial. And of course you have your lights button here, and then you have your tilting lever here for the steering wheel. Looks like the owners really took care of it. The clear coat is starting to peel. Oh, by the way, you can fold down these seats. There's a lever here, you push up and you just bring it down, but I'm not going to be doing that. Very typical of Honda to have this sort of dials. Even in their sports cars, it's very similar. You do have an extra coin slot here, and it seems like in the 90s people were using tons of coins, but nowadays everybody uses credit cards, so I don't think a lot of people will be using it for much, but it's there. You have your left and right mirror adjustment. In the middle is, I guess you can say, neutral. Then you adjust your mirror this way. It's a power mirror, so that's how you do it. This, you can lock your passenger windows if you have kids and you don't want them to be opening up the windows, you lock it. Then you have here, the big button is your window, and then these are the other windows. You also have the handle here, and a lot of people use this for change. You can see that the cloth is a little bit worn, a little bit dirty. This car was used for work at a certain point, so it started to get dirty. So I have a 91 Accord that's really good, and I had a 99 Accord, I had a 93 Accord, and this is a 94. And my mom has got a 2012 Accord, so I know a little bit about these. They're extremely good and reliable. The only downside a lot of times is that the transmission, the automatic transmissions on these are not as strong as I'd like, but if you don't hot rod it, this thing will last you a very long time. So let's go for a little bit of a ride, and I can show you how it rides. See, it drives pretty straight. It seems like the wheels have to be aligned a little bit because the steering wheel seems to go to the left, but it's no big deal. When it's a car from the 1990s and you just want solid, reliable transportation and have a station wagon so you can carry a lot of tools. And this car used to be, it belonged to one guy that bought it brand new. So it's always a great thing when I find cars that the family bought them brand new, one owner vehicle. A lot of the times when I sell these cars, they go to people who might just, they want to hot rod them and stuff, but the station wagon, it's a different type of person that's going to be getting a station wagon. It's not the usual guy that wants to hot rod a Honda Civic. It's a guy, I see a lot of people, a lot of hipsters wanting to get this, because it's an extremely cool vehicle. Durability is great, so bang, Honda. But also practicality in a vehicle is extremely important. I like pickup trucks, but the problem is with pickup trucks, they're just so uncomfortable. But this little wagon, you could double use it for work, and it even has like a rack on the roof so you can use it to put ladders and stuff. Like, you want a durable Honda Accord, but you want to be a little bit different, and you want to like do some work with it, this thing makes it work. This is exactly what you need, a station wagon. It used to be the Volvo 240 was the car professors and intellectuals. Not anymore. Now it's the Honda Accord that's become the intellectual car. Sometimes older doesn't mean it's worse. Sometimes it's better.